a jaunty opening. Thank you. And welcome, everyone, to our center this morning. We're really glad you're here. Welcome to those of you who are joining us on YouTube. We're especially glad you're here. It's warm in the sanctuary, and we hope you're warm wherever you are. So as we come together in this service today, we remind you that we are a center that helps you change your thinking so you can change your life. And that is what we support, and that is what we think. So as we do that in song, let us rise up and sing.
Check. There we go. Yay! We're live. Good morning, everyone. I let the love wash over me. I let it be. Yes, I let the joy wash over. It be, and I let the peace wash over me. I let it be. Back to love. I let the love wash over me. I let it be. Yes, I let it be. One more time. I let it be. Excellent. Thank you.
Isn't it wonderful? Simply let the peace be, let the joy be, let the love be. Because that is what we're talking about when we are in this place, to let life be as we are in this place of divine peace, love, and joy. And I know as I move through this service that it absolutely embodies the idea that I can be all of the things I am choosing to be, because Spirit, the divine, the infinite creator, is moving through me, bringing to me all those things that I choose to be. I am so grateful for this idea that I am God expressing all the time. And I know that every day I live in such a way that I embody that truth to a higher and greater degree. I am so grateful. I am grateful for today. I'm grateful for the music. I'm grateful for everything that unfolds. And so I simply say, and so it is, and so it is. So I'm going to welcome Maureen to do the announcements.
Good morning to all, both here in the sanctuary and those on our YouTube channel. Today, November 13th, our speaker is Reverend Catherine McKinney, or as some of you know, I call her Reverend Mama. Here is what is happening this week. Today is the pledge event potluck at 12:30. We are gathering for a potluck next door. There are pledge cards for your convenience, and we are also featuring our master baker, Larsina Diudani, I apologize. Join us at 12:30 as we begin our harvest celebrations. And the Angel Project is beginning. The volunteers are at the tree today to answer your questions and assist you with your donations. This is our major giving project every year, our big opportunity to give directly to those whose needs are great. And please look to your program for more opportunities, but for some more information, we are having our lovely Jan Mintz to come up and give us some more information.
I'm going to do it gently, of course, as Miss Piggy says, since I'm one-armed here, but it's such a blessing to once again participate in our center's Angel Project. We've been bringing Christmas cheer to 40 families locally facing financial challenges for close to 20 years now. You long-timers know that we used to put on a big production to have our families come to our center to pick up gifts purchased, assembled, wrapped, and boxed by our volunteers. When COVID hit in 2020, the center was closed that Christmas, so we agreed with our 3 social service agencies to provide gift cards to each family member instead. Well, it was a huge hit. Families were able to get exactly what they needed, be it food, clothes, baby items, gas, or even help with their rent to enable them to stay housed. Our service coordinators were truly shocked and thrilled to receive thousands of dollars in donations, as if they had no idea the true cost of all the presents we bought for these families. The angel tree is now up in the lobby, manned by Santa's elves, ready to take your cash, check, or credit card donation. The 40 ornaments represent the 40 families we are serving this year. So if you would like to sponsor an entire family, please let an elf help you pick out a family size that works for you. No donation is too small, and none is too big, and all are tax deductible. So we look forward to seeing you after service at the tree. Thank you.
This is truly one of the biggest events that we have at our center, and I'm so happy that we're back doing it. So I look forward to finding an ornament for myself after the service. And here, what is happening this week. The second balance class is scheduled for Monday, November 14th at 10 a.m. It is taught by Dana Lumiere and Monica Ruth. And the in-person book reading continues Tuesday, November 15th at 10 a.m. The book is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and you can check your program for more details. The yoga class meets on Tuesdays in Richelieu Hall at 11 a.m. Bring your mat, and the cost is $10. Learn to Live is a book reading on Zoom on Wednesdays on November 16th at 9:45 a.m. The book is Learn to Live by Irvin Seal, and you can email the office for a Zoom link. Our next Wednesday morning service is November 16th at 11 a.m. here and on our YouTube channel. This is our midweek spiritual inspiration, and our speaker will be Reverend Mary Morgan. And looking ahead, the Thanksgiving Eve service will be Wednesday, November 23rd at 6:30 p.m. with the topic of the Heart of Gratitude. We take this moment to remind you that there are several ways you can donate to our center. We appreciate your presence here today, and we thank you so much for your messages and your important financial donations to our center. You can sign up for Amazon Smile, naming the center as a beneficiary, and it's very easy to do. And so thank you for considering that. And as a reminder, you can always dial a prayer at 310-540-5242. New prayers are posted every Wednesday. And now for our lovely singer, Roxanne Reese.
Good morning. When you can't find your direction and your heart won't guide you home, let go and let God. When your dreams are broken in the dust and you've lost the will to trust, let go and let God. Let the signs remind you we are passengers. Trust the God within you to surrender, to surrender. Let go and let God. When your faith's a dying fire and there's no spark to feed the flame, let go and let God. When your courage fails you and the well of hope runs dry, let go and let God. Let the signs remind you we are passengers. Trust the God within you to surrender, to surrender. Let go and let God. Trust Spirit with all your heart. We can always make a brand new start. Let go and let God. When your dreams are broken in the dust and you've lost the will to trust, let go and let God. Let the signs remind you we are passengers. Trust the God within you to surrender, to surrender. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go. And let
Thank you. That was brilliant. Words just can't even express it. Right? Yes. Thank you, Roxanne. Music lifts us to another space. Good morning. I'm Reverend Valerie Reeves, and it is my honor and pleasure to do the spiritual lesson today. Reverend Catherine McKinney will be talking about safe home today, and I know Ernest Holmes would teach home is right where you are. It's right where we are. I do want to celebrate. On Friday was Veterans Day. How many veterans here and at home? Yes. Thank you so much for your service. Yes. I have to tell you, I was the kind of parent that school was really more of a social event for me, and I knew that that was true with my children because they were brilliant. And so when they were in high school, if they decided they needed to take a day off and stay home, it's like, personal day, let's do it. So I was taking a personal day at home, and my second born, I have 4 children, 3 boys, 1 girl. My second born decided he was taking a day off too. And I was driving the 2 youngest to school, and there was something happening on the radio. I'm like, they're not telling me what's happening. Something in the world is happening. You know, when the energy just feels different? And I got home, and I turned on the TV, and it was 9/11. Yeah. So my son, Chris, came out, and I said, we have to watch this. We all kind of know where we were during that time. Touches my heart. At that moment, my second-born child decided that he wanted to do something to help keep us safe at home. And he decided to join the military. Yeah, that's one of the things that a mom really doesn't want to hear. But it's something that, keeping our country safe and knowing that there is peace in the world and bringing that peace wherever we can. So he was in Al-Assad, Iraq, and I'd be listening for the phone at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, anytime. And because I couldn't call him, I had to wait for him to call me. And he called me one night, or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I answered the phone, and he said they needed 100 volunteers to stay for another 8 months, so I volunteered. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? No. And he said, there's a lot of people that have families, and, Mom, you're okay. I said, yeah, let go, let God, right? I said, what about your mother? And he said, Mom, I bring an element of peace to the Middle East. I bring an element of peace to the Middle East. And I thought, that is my child, raised in this teaching. So I knew that he was safe right where he was, bringing that element of peace. And so I'm knowing for all of the people that are protecting our nation, that the protection is right where we are, that we are safe at home, and that we are blessed by all of those that make sure. And so it is.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer.
I love that song. And every time I sing it, it takes me back to the words and what they mean and how important they are. And if anything, the remarks that I have to say have as its subtext, our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Robert Frost said that a home is that place when you have to go there, they have to take you in. My idea of home is a place where you are supported when you want to leave, and you are greatly welcomed when you want to come back. That is my idea of safe home. I loved what Valerie had to say, because as Ernest Holmes said, home is where you are, and you are safe at home when you're safe in your own being. When I was a little girl, I had a lot of ideas about home, because as I think about home, I couldn't help but remember over the last few weeks, several of our speakers, you may remember, used the Wizard of Oz as an idea of going away and coming back, and remembering that Dorothy said, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home." And I heard it several times. We had 3 speakers that spoke of that, and I don't know if it was the frequency of hearing it, but something took me back to when I was a child, because I wondered how many people don't feel good about going home. And so the remarks that I put together today are centered around that idea, because when I was a grade school child, we had moved to this place recently. In fact, when we moved there, we were the only house on the street, and I didn't have anybody to play with. And as an 8-year-old, that was not a good feeling. I wanted to play with other little girls, other little kids. Then some houses came in. The first one, nobody my age. And then the third one had nobody my age. They had younger girls. But by that time, and I don't remember why, I really was just a child, I would just show up at this house. I must have just shown up in the morning, and the woman of the house welcomed me in. She had girls much younger than I, and I remember being there while they were eating their breakfast, and yet I just came on in. And I guess I was that eager to have a friend. And the woman of the house was chatty with me. She told me she had a degree in home economics, and she was rather proud of that, I can see in hindsight, because she talked about how you decorate with things and sewing and cooking and how things are done. I was so impressed. I just loved being there. It felt like home. I enjoyed it so much. Now, you understand, when children are young in that grade school age, you're not particularly discerning. You're not making judgments. You're just collecting information. That's what children do. They're soaking it in. We talk about children being little sponges because they're taking it all in, and that's what I was doing. As I got older, I would go home with other little girls. That was a common thing to do. After school, you'd go home with someone else instead of your mom picking you up. And so I did that, and I was in a lot of different homes. I don't remember girls coming home with me that much, but I enjoyed the adventure of being in other people's homes and seeing how they did home. Well, by the time I was of a more discerning age, beginning to be a teenager, I realized that I preferred those other houses to my home. I don't know that I thought about why that was. I just did. And so go forward a few more years in my teenage years, I was actively talking about not liking my home situation to my friends at the time, and they commiserated me because I was, they were my friends, so they wanted to make me feel better. So fast forward some more, by the time I get to college, there was a year where I decided not to go home for Thanksgiving because I didn't want to go home. So you can imagine when I'm thinking there's no place like home, there's no place like home, I'm thinking, I can't be the only one that felt like, well, maybe there is another place like home. So it's not a sad story that I'm telling you. It is not. It is just a record, really, of how I felt at the time. And that's really going to be at the heart of what I'm saying. How we feel about something is a great deal of a clue as to an evaluation and a thought and a belief that we have around that feeling. So when we move forward and think about all of these different ideas about how we are going home, I was thinking about this class that I taught about 10 or 12 years ago. It was a parenting class. Again, even though it was only a relatively short time ago, I don't remember where that urgency was that I wanted to teach this class, but I know that I did. Dr. Moore and I talked about it, and she agreed, and so I was doing this, but I didn't have any idea exactly what I was going to say. I just had this urgency to doing it. And like so many things in my life, When I have an urgency and a need, something just falls in front of me that helps me get there. I found a book at a yard sale. Yes, it was a wonderful book. It's written by these two psychologists who are their child psychologists, and they talk about different things about child psychology and how you do things or don't do things. And I realized in that period of time that I have to go back a few years, and maybe part of this is that experience. When Bob and I first married, he was shocked to find out that I said I didn't want to have any children. And it was true at the time. And I had to articulate it, I had to say that I did not want a child to feel about me the way I felt about one of my parents. And that was it. And so a couple of more years go by, not that many, and I wake up to the idea, wait a minute, I get to decide what kind of parent I want to be. Now, all of this is before I knew science of mind. This is just part of a process. See, what I believe is when you have a quest, when you have an energy to do something, the universe conspires to bring you what you desire. That is true in my case. So when I got this book and I read the introduction, he said this whole book is based on two principles. One is that you parent the way you were parented. And number two, most of the time, things tend to stay the way they are, but they can change. Well, see, all of that happened to me. It all happened to me. I knew why I didn't want to have children, but then I realized I could do it differently. So I read this book eagerly. He and I were, or they, there were two of them, on the same page. We were coming at this. So as I moved through this whole time, I'm working on this class and I'm putting things together. One of the things he says is that people bring him problem children. And most often, if you're a child psychologist, you treat the whole family. You talk to the mom separate from the dad if there's one of each, and you talk to the siblings if you can. And so in doing that, he discovered that very often it was one of the parents that had had something happen in their own childhood, some need that did not get met. And at the age at which this happened is the exact age their child became a problem child. Something, and all of this is unconscious. See, that's the amazing thing. We have acquired so much knowledge, like whatever I was learning when I was going from house to house to house as a child and coming up with whatever I was it was all unconscious. And the same thing for all of us to some degree. We come to things as we're ready to come to those things, and we are given opportunities. We may ignore them, but we are given opportunities to deal with the areas in our own being, our own consciousness that want to be higher and bigger and better. So in the cases of that, and he shared lots of cases throughout the book, some of the times the parent goes, oh my gosh, I had no idea that it affected me that much. And they get into their own way of re-looking at life, and everything turns out well. But not every parent wants to change. It's not me. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything like that. Well, life is like that too. One of the things that we say, and I said at the top of this service, change your thinking and change your life. However, I can't change your thinking. You are the only one that can change your thinking, and you have to decide to change your thinking for whatever reasons. And I'm telling you that I know that you're not different from so many of us, that there is something within you that will get your attention from time to time. And it gets your attention in so many ways. And through this book, I began to see all of that, and it helped me. I realize now why I wanted to teach that class. It was for that evolution in myself, for that deeper understanding. That's what I was desiring, and I had no idea till I had gone through the process, and then I could look back on it. I wasn't taking a class, I was actually in a class that other people were taking. And the person teaching the class was a psychologist, and this is not that many years ago. And in teaching the class, she was referencing a psychologist who's written a number of books. His name is David Richo. And in the book she was talking about, he said there are 5 areas of development that we all need to move through and master in order to be this fully formed adult that's able to do these attachments and all the things that we need to be a glowing human being. And the first one is attention. The second one is acceptance. The third one is affection. And the fourth one's appreciation. And the last is allowing. Now, these are things that we want to experience in childhood to the degree that we feel those, that we are accepted, etc. Attention. Now, I think many of us know, or have at least heard, that infants have to have, and I mean have to in the physical sense, that attention, that love, that touch, in order to even live. Left untouched and uncared for, babies just die because that's part of what they need. But the attention that David Richo is talking about is not just that. He's talking about the attention in your early years. Now, your parents can be doting on you. They can absolutely give you all the attention you need, and then what happens? Maybe siblings come along, and it feels as if you don't get enough attention anymore. Or one of your parents remarries, brings in more children, and all of a sudden there was a crowd where before there was just you, and you don't feel that you get the right attention. And see, the key here is not whether your parents are ignoring you or not giving you attention. It's the way you feel about it. That's what you remember, is the feeling. And one of the principles of belief in this system is that a feeling plus a thought equals a belief. I don't get enough attention. Acceptance. How often in a child's life do they have situations where they express something? I want to be a rocket scientist. I want to be a ballerina. And does the parent say, oh, that's wonderful, let's see what that looks like? Or do they say, you're too short to be a ballerina. You can't be a ballerina. Or you don't like science enough to be a rocket scientist, something. So at some point, if that doesn't get handled, then you don't feel accepted. And then affection. Affection is shown in a lot of ways. Some of you may even be familiar with the language of love, that we all show our love and affection in different ways, and we expect to get it in different ways, even from someone who does it differently. Maybe you know that business. Whatever happens, if affection, what we're expecting as love and affection, doesn't come to us, again, we have the feeling that we didn't get enough. And if we don't handle that in some way, if we don't say to the person from whom we're expecting to get affection, you don't love me, or you don't care about me, or so they may respond and help us heal that. If we keep quiet about that, then we have this feeling of not having enough of that. And then appreciation. There are a lot of times in life where we make mistakes. And so what happens when we make mistakes? Are we chastised? Are we made to feel less than we are as children? Or are we given a bigger picture? Everybody makes mistakes. Let me brush you off and pick you up and move on. What happens? Now, all of these are small things, and they probably happen to all of us at some point. The allowing part of it is that last step in the A's, and that's a home is a place where they support you when you want to leave. Allowing your child to grow up. Allowing to grow up instead of holding them back. Or let me do that for you because you might make a mistake. We're calling it helicopter parenting in more recent times, where you try to protect your child from mistakes, but allowing and supporting when you're ready to leave. And it doesn't mean leave home to go to college or to a distant city. It means leaving home and being more independent when you're in school, when you're doing something else. Do you allow, or were you allowed to be that individual? In this class that I was in, the person who was moderating the class said, as they went through the 5 A's, I want you to raise your hand if you feel that you didn't get enough of any one of those things. So at the end of the class, she said, every one of you raised your hand at least once. And so this was a class of advanced consciousness students, I might add. So what I'm saying is, this is not a sad thing. This is not a terrible thing, but it is a thing that may reside in our subconscious and hold us back in some way. Somehow or other, we see it as a deficit. And because of that, we may do certain things to try to make up for it. And one of the interesting things is we often seek to fill that need in someone else. Finding that someone who will give us attention, who will accept us the way we are, to be affectionate. That is the idea behind our developmental things. Now, all of this is psychology. And Ernest Holmes often said that the science of mind teaching is a spiritual psychology. But it also teaches that no matter what has happened in the past, it simply does not have to be your present. And it certainly doesn't need to be your future. But that means you need to take charge of what you're saying. Take charge of what you're thinking in order to be that whole, full person that all of us want to be. And that is the secret of science of mind. When we say change your thinking, change your life, it is absolutely true. And change my thinking about what might be the next question. And as you contemplate, as you think about maybe little feelings that you have at times, why did I get upset about this? Or maybe you find yourself having said something that you're going, where did that come from? Or maybe you just thought it. In the last week, probably most of us have thought or said something that we're wondering, why? What did I do? What was that about? Well, see, when that happens, it's a tap on the shoulder. It's a tap on the shoulder. Pay attention to that. And Deepak Chopra has famously said, first, your consciousness taps you on the shoulder, and then it gives you a shove, and if you don't pay attention, it pushes you out the window. You are going to get your own attention one way or the other. You will. So maybe we can all agree, yes, that we want to pay attention to what you're thinking, to what you're saying. The prodigal son is the story of, it's really a hero's journey that Jesus told. And you can break that down into so many elements with so much in it. But one of the things that I'm focusing on in this moment is when the prodigal son, the son, had left home. He was leaving home, and as he was wished well, he went out in the world, and he had all these, he had money, he had things, he had lots of things to support him. But the material things left him, spent them, used them up, gave them away. And he was absolutely desolate without any of his things. And then he said, he came to himself. And comes to himself means that he comes to that spiritual life within him that made him know that he could always turn to the Father, to the source, to the infinite intelligence, and find what he needed. So he went home. He came to himself. That is what we want to do, is to come to ourselves. So no matter how things come up in our life, we may go through darker times, which really are when things are happening and we don't know why and we're trying to figure it out. And we can always turn to that source, that part of us that absolutely knows, that rock within us that is God, it is the divine, it is that spiritual intelligence that will also nurture us and hold us through this time. That is the 23rd Psalm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, which is merely the difficult times, thy rod, my source, and thy staff, your love and protection, accompany me. I know that I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, and that is what I choose to know. So I invite everyone today to join with me as we say, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And so it is. The ushers are coming down, and we are going to share the mission statement at this center, which is to honor your presence, to nurture your spirit, and to enrich the lives of all we serve. And that is the whole reason that we are here, is to fulfill that mission statement. And so I'm going to share a very quick message that helps us to be reminded of how we have done that. I am so grateful to all those who helped me solve my problem. I was so upset when I arrived at the center. I talked to exactly the right people here that helped me to find my way. This center is a wonderful, giving place, and I am grateful. When you work at this center and when you strive to give messages, it's always comforting and loving to know that there are people who know that, yes, they were served. And so let us share the blessing as we choose to give back to this center. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is. And now Roxanne Reese is going to grace us again with a wonderful song, as only her pipes can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Kathy. There is love that is like no other. There is strength that will pull you through. There is God standing in your corner. There is nothing God can't do. There is grace that has no measure. There is love that has no end. There is life for you, joy and pleasure too. There is God, your closest friend. I just want to say, there is God. There is a God. Yes, there is hope for the brokenhearted. There is peace for the troubled soul. There is grace for the one discarded. God is in you. God is love. God is grace. God is truth. God is peace. God is. God is in you. And me. Change your thinking. I will dwell in the house of the Lord
Well, I did say she had some pipes, right? Before we move into our blessing, I want to complete something that Reverend Valerie began. I noticed a number of hands went up for people who are veterans. Friday was 11/11, Veterans Day, and I would like to invite all of those who have served, please come up and share this platform with me right now, if you will. Play some marching music, sir. Yes. I just want to say that it is a service that is unlike any other, and some are veterans who served for more than 20 years. But it doesn't matter. That desire to serve, to be a part of the service to your country, is something that is not necessarily known as well to me as I know as it is to others, because I haven't done that. But I know people who have, and I honor what they've done. And so let's let them step away with just that applause that we gave them already. Thank you for your service. And so as we come to the end of our service, I hope many of you are planning on going to our pledge celebration next door. I will have to say, I've been at this center since 1996, and this is the first time I've gone to a pledge dinner after having spoken on the platform. So I haven't even looked at that table of mine, but I have food. And so let's all enjoy this in our community in the way that we do. It is simply a wonderful thing to be a part of this community and break bread together in November, as we often do. So let us say the blessing that we say and know that it is a blessing for ourselves. It is a blessing for everyone in this world, especially those people who are serving wherever they may be. I know divine love enfolds me. Divine light leads me. Divine life lives in me. Divine wisdom inspires me. Divine compassion expresses through me, and divine power protects me. All that I am is Spirit's life in expression. It is good and very good. Deep joy and generosity filling me, I go forward now in sacred service, supporting a compassionate world that works for all. I move through my days in grace and ease, in peace and love, in health and wellness, in fullness and plenty, and in loving relationship with all. What I now know for myself, with blessing and in deep gratitude, I know for all life. There is only God. There is only God. There is only God. Let's rise for our peace song.